So we've got a pivot table. We've been able to summarize a large set of data, right, coming from this sales data worksheet, 400 plus records, maybe it's thousands of records, whatever it is, some large amount of data, and we've summarized it down to rows, row labels, column labels, and something to calculate in the cross sections. Now that we've got a summarized little spreadsheet happening here, I now want to look at this in something more visual. I want to see a chart based on this data. Now, included inside of a pivot table, you have a feature called a pivot chart. These are very similar to your standard Excel charts with one big difference. Take a look. This is how you create a pivot chart based off of a pivot table. Again, the idea is I want something more visual. So, first step, I'll click into my pivot table. Doesn't matter where, just as long as I'm in that pivot table. I'm going to go up to the top where I got my two new tabs, Analyze and Design. I'll go to my Analyze tab, and towards the far right, you got a section called Tools. And one of the tools is a pivot chart. I'll give that a click. I'm going to get to pick the type of pivot chart that I want. And if you've created standard types of charts inside of Excel, these are going to look exactly the same. If you haven't dealt with charts before inside of Excel, I recommend go back to my 101 course. You can find it here on Udemy, and you can sign up for that one and learn all about charts there. But here we've got a pivot chart. So I'm going to stick with the default, just a cluster column chart, probably one of the more typical common types of charts that people work with. I'll have that one selected. I'm going to hit OK, and I've now got a chart based on my pivot table. I'll move that one down. There it is. Really simple. Click into your pivot table, hop up to your Analyze tab, top of your screen, pivot chart, pick your type of chart, and you're good to go. You've got a chart. Now, there's one big difference between a pivot chart and your standard Excel charts, just your default charts that you find on your Insert tab within Excel. Well, the pivot chart is still connected to the pivot table, which means anything that changes structure-wise in the pivot table changes within the chart as well. Take a look. So I decide, you know what? I don't want month anymore. So I drag that out. Boop, gone. So now I've just got total sales for salespeople. And if I go down here to my chart, look at that. I've got total sales for my salespeople. Ooh, you know what? I want to put the year down below. So I'll grab year, put that inside of my axis category. And now I've got years down here, broken up by sales, by salesperson. And if I go back up here, look at that. I've got my years. Ooh, you know what? I don't want year. Let's drag that out of there. Let's do this by type, the different products. So now I've got my products, my salespeople, their total sales, and I've got it down here as well. So very dynamic. They're hooked up to one another. It doesn't matter how your pivot table changes, it will update, and vice versa. You change the chart, it updates the pivot table. Click and drag. They're connected. They stay connected. Doesn't matter about changing the size of the data. You don't have to go back in and change the data source for the chart. They're just connected. It's one of the beauties. Again, super simple. Create these very dynamic, very robust reports just by clicking and dragging. Not much more than that. Now, anything that you know about standard types of charts inside of Excel, apply here as well. So if you want to format them, if you want to add additional data points or data elements to your chart, that's all done exactly the same way you'd work with standard types of charts inside of Excel. So try this out. Create a pivot table. Click into that pivot table. Go up to your Analyze tab and create a chart. Try out a cluster column chart. Try out a pie chart, whatever you want. Try messing around with the layout of your pivot table and confirm that your chart updates as well. Try it out.